AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Buddy Ray.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com, now in full winter hours, and those are opened up at 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock, Monday through Friday. We're opening up at 4. We close at 10 Monday through Thursday. Friday, we close at 11. Saturday, still the same, 11 to 11, and Sunday, noon to 8. Come on down and see me.
I brought a couple of my coworkers down a couple of weeks ago.
We had to move the wall back.
That was the party in front of me. That was not me. Wait, no, that was me.
Was that you or was that party?
That was actually Jeff DeGan. He lost his cell phone while he was driving. When he came out of the hairpin, he felt his cell phone fall out of his pocket. So he looks down as he's going through the big bow, and he wasn't paying attention back in the repair area where the wall kind of turns a little sharper, and he just ran smack into it.
Now, if I remember right, I think is it Party is his name?
Yeah, Big Party.
Yeah, Big Party. Well, there's a reason why they call him Big Party. He's not exactly a 100-pound guy. But with that being said, how close was your guys' races? And the reason why I'm asking is in reference to our crate engines.
They had never been there, ever, and they'd never raced Coke Carts like that before. The first race, I think I beat them by probably a second and a half, 2 seconds a lap. Typical. But the story of it all was that by race number 2, they were keeping up with me a lot better. I was still about a half a second to 0.4 faster than them, but to be able to pick up on it that fast just shows you how easy these cars are to race.
And
now.
You've got quite a bit of seat time there in the last 5 years, so I mean, you give them the exact amount of time, that you have on the carts, and you guys are going to be right there within 100th of a second. Yeah,
we're trying to do that every Thursday now. So maybe if you join us on some Thursday night, you can come out and race with us, and we'll give you a call, and you can come down and join us.
Please.
Oh, well, we'll do it. But come out to Quaker Steak and Lube on a Thursday night and come drink beer with me. And
I have with you, and you usually got some young, good-looking girl on your arm, and you just kind of like blow me off.
What do you expect? I'm going to talk to you and not the beautiful girl?
Well,
I mean, honestly, let's get serious here.
Well, the fact that you're even having dinner with a girl impresses me.
I know, right? So I'm supposed to sit and talk to you?
Maybe Big Party and Jeff are like celebrating that Dan Taylor's finally talking to women, so that's why they go karting with you.
It's that second cat I got, I'm telling you. All right, big show lined up for you today. We're going to talk to Justin Fantozzi of Goodyear. We're going to talk to him about all sorts of different things. I've got about 1,000 questions for him, and we'll talk to him about all the different things. Plus, we're going to do a turn of champions. Trevor Grossenbacher won the Nebraska 360 championship, Nebraska 360 Sprint Car Championship by 2 points over Jack Dover. We're going to talk to Kyle Berck about his championship for the SLMR series. Won it by a few more than 2 points, but still a nail-biter when it came down to it after Lakeside Speedway. So we'll talk to those guys in turn number 3. We'll wrap it all up, and we'll talk Talladega in turn number 4. Right now, I want to talk NASCAR news and notes, because there was a little bit of news that happened this week. Sunday morning, Dirk Houston and I broke down the Charlotte race on Saturday night, and the fight that happened afterwards. You and I had several conversations about what NASCAR should do, what they ended up doing. And Frank, I want to say I was a little caught off guard by the fine, but I 100% agreed with it. Brad Keselowski, $50,000, 4 races on probation. Tony Stewart, $25,000, 4 races on probation. I was shocked when I saw Tony Stewart's name come across the probation line.
I was shocked. What's even more shocking, Kenseth, nothing.
I'm not shocked at all.
Are you kidding me?
I'm absolutely serious. Robin Pemberton's statement on the fines. We knew that the new chase format was likely going to raise intensity levels, and we want our drivers to continue to be themselves. However, the safety of our drivers, crew members, officials, and workers is paramount, and we will react when that safety becomes compromised. Matt Kenseth attacking, punching, getting into a fight with Brad Keselowski affected those two guys. What Brad Keselowski did, speeding through pit road, running into Tony Stewart, running into Matt Kenseth, and then speeding through the garage area, that's what I had the biggest objection over, because you and I have been, I mean, if you've ever been down to the pits in Kansas, you know how fast this stuff moves.
Oh, yeah.
Your head, no kidding, it's a cliche. It has to be on a swivel because those cars come around the corner at 45, 50 miles an hour because they're tuned to go 175, 200. Going 45, 50 miles an hour is nothing to those guys, and you're going to end up as a bug on a windshield. It's nighttime. He's seeing red. God, just imagine what would have happened. Well, actually, we don't have to imagine because this happened in August.
Right.
And Tony Stewart wasn't mad. He wasn't. Oh, I don't know I shouldn't say he wasn't because I wasn't in his head at the time. But
ultimately, we've seen what happened.
It's a similar scenario. I mean, so I understand why NASCAR fined Brad Keselowski and Tony Stewart. They had to fine Tony Stewart because they fined Brad Keselowski for making pit road unsafe. Tony did the exact same thing. Tony didn't need to back up and slam into Brad Keselowski. He did. Tony made it just as unsafe as Brad did. I'm completely behind the fines.
I totally agree with everything you're saying, but when Kenseth gets out of his car and knowingly runs after Keselowski, that right there, if you're in the NFL and you're a linebacker and you walk up and you just cold cock or headbutt and body slam, I'm sorry. If you walk up cold cock and body slam the opposing quarterback, you're going to get fined.
Right.
So why was Kenseth not fined here?
Because this is a different sport, and we love our. You've said it yourself. We love our drivers to show emotion.
We do, but you can also take set emotion too far, and this does not set a good precedence. Now, it's one thing if you. When I said that, we look back at the days of Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt would voice his displeasure on the mic. You would see his displeasure in his face, but you did not see Dale Earnhardt running after someone, putting them in a headlock, body slamming them. Now, I'm not going to lie. It probably made NASCAR some humongous ratings.
Yeah.
They probably got millions of views on internet and YouTube and whatnot. But to find everybody else but not do something to Kenseth, I think sends the wrong message to some people. A lot of people were wondering, why not give Kenseth something? Now, I do agree with you. What the other guys do with their cars is not safe.
It's a safety issue.
It's a safety issue.
Yeah. So we're in agreement on that part.
We're in agreement on that part.
So are you afraid this is going to turn... Because the classic over-exaggeration is that this is going to turn into WWE, which that's the dumbest argument in the world. Now, I'm sorry if I'm insulting anybody, but...
Hey, I like my Hulk Hogan.
From the day this sport went from lap 1 to the final lap at Daytona, fully televised, we've been seeing fights.
Yep.
This sport has never turned into wrestling, boxing, MMA, UFC, whatever. It's not going to. These are good old boys. We like our emotions on our sleeves. I watched a Race Hub later that week, and they delayed the post-victory celebration, and Kevin Harvick is sitting in his car watching the monitor for ESPN as it's all unfolding, and he's laughing. Jeff Gordon is sitting in the media center ready to give his post-race interview, and he jumps over and starts watching it. Do you ever expect Matt Kenseth to do this again?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Come on. Be honest with me.
If you can do it once, why can't you do it again?
Come on. Matt Kenseth has never done this before. He's coming to the end of his career.
We haven't seen it.
It's never come out. Come on. We never saw Richard Childress punch Kyle Busch, but it came out pretty quickly that it happened.
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay. Well, this stuff doesn't get hidden like that before. I got no problem with anything that happened. I was shocked that Matt did it. I couldn't believe that Matt Kenseth did that because he's always the most calm person. That's what every other driver in the pit area
I'm not going to lie. I watched it over and over and over, and I thought it was entertaining as heck to watch.
Yeah.
But the only thing is, I think there should have been some kind of a fine or a levy or something.
Well, what NASCAR has done with someone like Kyle Busch, who is a recurring issue, they fine him for actions detrimental to stock car racing. I'm fine with them not fining Matt Kenseth because this is the first time I've ever seen Matt Kenseth attack anybody. In fact, I hardly ever see him have cross words, get anybody's face, anything like that. He's post-race, the guy's an idiot. He makes comments, whatever. But I hardly ever see him go after anybody like Kevin Harvick, like Kyle Busch, like Tony Stewart has, like Jeff Gordon has, like Jeff Burton has, like all these other drivers.
The Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, Phoenix altercation.
Yeah.
Fisticuffs are going then.
Right.
Was there fines?
No.
Okay, then I stand corrected.
There was not fines for the actual fighting. And I think there was fines for Marcus Ambrose and Casey Mears, though, earlier this year when Marcos decked him after the race is over with. I think they got a monetary fine of like $10,000 or something like that, but But you know what? It is what it is. It's over with now. Let's move on to Talladega, and we'll talk Talladega. We're going to take a break. We'll talk Talladega in turn number 4. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
This is Andrew from Koziski Auto Parts. Koziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Koziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Koziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Koziski Auto Parts. Our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low emission engines will still have you white knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shale Blade, and Andrew Koziski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're working the high line into turn 2 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting, online at joeskarting.com.
Heading into turn number 2 here on the front stretch, brought to you by Koziski Auto Parts, online at koziski.com. Quality used parts at an affordable price, where you can go in and get, like I said, a quality used part for your vehicle. You're going to get the right part the right time, the first time, every single time. That is Koziski Auto Parts, 51st and I Street in Omaha. And now we're being joined by a man that we talked to last year down in Kansas. Has quite the fancy little title for your role at Goodyear. I believe it is, I'm delaying as my text message pulls up. You are the NASCAR Operations Manager for Goodyear, and that is Justin Fantozzi. Thanks so much for joining us, Justin.
Thanks for having me.
Wanted to get a couple of questions through you a little bit and kind of talk a little bit about Goodyear and your guys' process. So let's start from the very beginning. It's a long process when we talk about creating tires for a NASCAR race weekend. You know, we always talk to you guys down at Kansas Speedway, but let's just take any race weekend, for instance. It's not easy being able to get all these tires into one location, because it's testing, it's development, and then it's creating and all that fun stuff.
You know, it is a lengthy process in some terms, but it really is a detail-oriented process. And the process starts with the previous race. So none of my engineers are race car drivers, so we rely on that feedback from the teams, from the drivers themselves, from the crew chiefs, and we gather that information throughout the course of a race weekend. But we also have conference calls with a number of teams throughout the week after the event. That allows the guys to get the emotion out of them. It allows them to digest what they've seen, they've touched, they've felt, and then the feedback can be very candid and very crystal clear at times. And then we take that feedback, we look at the notes that we've gathered. One of the neat things that we do, we don't have a call center, and we don't have that 1-800-Goodyear Racing, because our guys are on the ground. Mm-hmm. The same folks that are designing and developing the tire are at track for the race weekend, so we have that immediate feedback. So we look at our own notes, we look at the team notes, and then we see where we're at and where things are headed. And one of the big challenges for 15 has been the car changes for the Cup Series, and as that has come and changed and evolved, as the teams have learned, we've learned right alongside with them.
Changing with the car has got to be a very difficult thing, because the process for deciding the tires for Kansas, like you said, started at the April race, and the results from that race, weeks following deciding what tire compound you guys are going to bring. But what you weren't able to factor in is how much faster these cars were going when they got to the track for the October race in Kansas.
We always have a margin built into what we design. So we're always shooting for a gas stop and a half. And then we always know that there's going to be either speed improvements or, corner entry is important, but it's the mid-corner sustained load and sustained speed that really leans on all the parts of the car. Because in the end, physics is physics. And whether it's at Kansas, whether it's at Chicago, whether it's at Martinsville, you know that sustained load in the middle of the corner is what you're really trying to fight. So you're all right. We came out of the Kansas race, felt pretty confident where we were from a result as well as the margin. and then we just monitored it until the time that we needed to hit the go button for production for the fall race, and then confirmed ourselves with the notes that we had, and then went ahead and made the recommendation, and then went into production and made the tires.
How many tires do you guys bring to a track for a weekend? I know and you actually enlightened me this on last year, that there is a set number of tires that a Cup team gets. So what's the number of tires that NASCAR or that Goodyear brings to be prepared for a weekend?
The normal set limit for the Cup Series is 10 race sets. And they're also given 5 sets for P's and Q's. So that's 15 sets per Cup car. Nationwide, it'll be somewhere between 5 and 7, depending on the length of the race, depending on the track surface, how fast it wears. Trucks are typically 4 to 6, depending on if we've been to that circuit before, and again, the abrasiveness of the track. So it's not uncommon, to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 5,000 tires on site in order to make sure that everybody is able to get through the weekend.
In the history of NASCAR and Goodyear's relationship with auto racing, has there ever been a weekend where you've seen one or two teams actually run out of their allotment of 10 sets of tires in a race weekend?
Buddy, my job is to make sure that doesn't happen. So in the time that I've been asked and challenged to do this, no, we running out is not an option. So we want to make sure that everybody gets what they're looking for. And then just to the safety margin on the technical side, we always make sure that we have a margin built in on the operational side, on the quantity side, so that in the event of rain, that would be the biggest usage, if you will, of an additional set. If we were to have rain on a Saturday night and come in on a Sunday morning to a green track, that allows NASCAR to, if they would choose, to give teams another set of tires, because more than likely we're going to have a competition caution at 25 or 30 so that everybody can gauge where they're at relative to where the track's at, and then they would need an additional set to get through that to then continue on their strategy that they would have developed throughout the course of the weekend to try to get the maximum that they can out of the package to put on a great show for the fans.
Talking with Justin Fantuzzi, NASCAR Operations Manager for Goodyear. Several weeks ago at Dover, Kevin Harvick had rather a weird occurrence happen for the second time at Dover, where a lug nut that had been pulled off during a pit stop got stuck on the inside of the tire and knocked the inner liner valve stem off. I got a series of questions here, so I'm going to start with the first one. The rims are actually owned by the teams. Is that correct?
The rims, that is correct, Dan. The rims, the wheels are steel. Most of them have 2 stems on it, one for the outer tire, the outer air container that everybody sees, those big yellow gorgeous letters, and then the second stem will be there for the inner liner, which the majority of the fans don't know that we run a second tire, and that is if we find a cut, if we have something that happens to the outer tire, it keeps the car off the ground and allows the guys to get back to the pit lane.
It gives them that rare instance when they're in the corner and they know they got a tire going down that they can slow down and make it back to pit road without damaging the car too bad.
That's the whole idea. And it's really the first step. The inner liner that we're currently running and continue to run because it works was developed by Goodyear engineers, and it's actually the first step to a consumer technology that most people have, and that's the run-on flat idea. And that's the idea where a consumer tire can have a hole in it, have no air, and can be able to run down the road 50, 60 miles, again, to get to your consumer pit lane or to be able to get to the tire shop, if you will, in order to get that tire service.
So if the teams own the rims, would it be up to them to redesign that stem or to create some sort of a protection on the rim to be able to make sure that, that one fluke instance, maybe when Harvick and the Ford team goes back to Dover next year, they don't have the same thing happen for a third race in a row?
The answer is no. The wheel itself, where the stems are located, is all spec so that everybody's the same. One of the big things that's done within the landscape of the NASCAR garage is parity, to try to make sure that everybody is running the same basic idea or the same specifications. There is some a box, if you will, to play within. But they really want it to come down to the driver. They want it to come down to the driver. They want it to come down to strategy. And the whole idea is so that the race itself can be played out on a Sunday at the racetrack and not played out on the computer screen sitting in Charlotte somewhere. So it's not really up to the team to locate and redesign where those stems are at. And based on the mechanics and the physics of the tires and how the air works within the shield and works within the outer tire, they really can't redesign it, because then we would have to redesign everything that we do.
One of the things Dan and I have been wondering, especially after watching Kansas and some of these other tracks, Goodyear gets a bad rap by a lot of the teams. In my opinion, maybe not necessarily Dan's, but in my opinion, because of the tire issues. With that being said, it's come back that some of the teams are running lower than recommended tire pressures. Have Goodyear asked NASCAR to set a minimum tire rule?
One of the key components to 2015 that was asked by the teams was to allow them to police or allow them to control themselves. So, yes, you are correct that we make a recommendation based on what we see, based on the laboratory results, based on what we know to be the construction. But then it's ultimately what the crew chiefs get paid for, and it's why they make their money. You know, they're always trying to push the limit, whether it be tires, whether it be motor, whether it be a fuel run. You know, can I get another lap out of this fuel run of this Sunoco fuel? Can I go a little bit faster? Do I need to back down? And that's all part of the strategy. That's all part of racing. You know, that's all part of what we've grown up to know, and what we really love about motorsports is being on that edge. And then sometimes you tip over it, and sometimes you don't.
You kind of talked about 2015 there, so is there any kind of cool things you can talk to us in the R&D department that you guys are working on for maybe not necessarily 2015, but farther on down the road?
You know, there's some things that we can talk about. A lot of it would be confidential. One of the big pieces that we worked on in the last couple of years is the idea of multi-zone tread compounds. Mm-hmm. We spoke about that last year in Kansas, but it's always good to bring that up. You know, we're always looking at, okay, if just this little part of the tire, or this little rib around the tire is really what's getting beat up, can we back off the recommendation that we need for that little rib and make it a little bit softer on the rest of the tire itself? We've looked at a number of things as far as technology is concerned, whether it be fabric, whether it be the actual raw polymers that go into it. So, you know, you're always trying to make sure that the margin is there and it's recognizable and it's real, so that when somebody does try to lean on it, you know, it doesn't end up snake biting them too bad.
Talk to Justin Fantozzi, Justin with Goodyear. And Justin, we do appreciate your time. We've drilled you on a lot of questions, and frankly, I think we've thrown some pretty hard balls at you, and you've done well, son.
Well, I appreciate it. I always enjoy talking to you guys. Hope the weather stays good for you. It's we've already had our first frost here in Ohio, so going to Talladega is always a good thing.
All right, Justin. Hey, Justin, have a good rest of the season. We can't wait to talk to you next year.
Appreciate it. You guys also be safe. Talk to you later.
Justin Fantozzi of Goodyear. I still had a couple of more questions, but I think I'll save them for next year.
You could pick his brain all day long.
I'm fascinated. I am absolutely fascinated.
I think Goodyear gets a lot of bad rap from the teams.
Do.
I mean, every time the setup's off, it's Goodyear's fault. It's the tire's fault.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the car got loose. It came out from underneath me, backed into the wall. Well, God forbid your driver oversteered the car or overdrove the car or something. It's the tire's fault.
Well, the one that sticks out in my mind, I can't remember the race it happened at, but Jimmy Johnson blew a tire. He blew 3 tires that weekend, and finally the third time the car was done, he had to go to the infield care center, and they interviewed him afterwards, and he said, well, you know, Goodyear didn't bring us a good enough tire. We don't have any compatibility in it, and, you know, they're going to blame it on the lower tire pressures. I don't know what we're running, but, you know what, whatever. It's not our fault, and walked off. And then we find out later through the great website of jski.com, they're running 8 pounds less than what is recommended. Now, you're getting a bunch of grip for that 8 pounds, but you also just walked out of the infield care center because of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're just wearing the tire down that much faster. That's what I don't understand. You know, Justin's talking about, well, we're kind of leaving that into the crew chief's hands. I still say they have to set a minimum tire pressure. Look, you can still, if Goodyear's going to be coming out next year in 2015 with a new spoiler package, new engine package, they're going to reduce the engine horsepower to 725 horse.
NASCAR, you mean.
Or NASCAR, thank you. then Goodyear should be able to do the exact same thing. There's still plenty of room to play in there as a crew chief with your setups. But I think it would make the racing a lot. I mean, nobody wants to go to Kansas and sit through 6 cautions because of blown tires. Well, it's not Goodyear's fault. It's the team's fault.
You and I sat during the first part of that race and went, oh boy, this is rough. And then all of a sudden, cautions started happening.
Yeah.
People were blowing tires. People were getting loose. The wind was an issue. The temperatures were an issue, and it made it a lot better. So I'm fine with 16, 20 cautions at Kansas because it made for some amazing restarts. But I think Justin's point to that whole thing is that we're going to recommend tire pressures to teams, but if they want to get down half a pound less than we recommend, a pound less than we recommend, they're going to do it at their own risk. What irks me, and I think it irks you too, is that Goodyear doesn't get the opportunity to say, Jimmy Johnson, you were running 6 pounds less. At least the mass media doesn't hear it. What everyone hears is a post infield care center interview where Jimmy Johnson bashed Goodyear. Goodyear doesn't get that big stage where they could say, no, Chackenhouse was running lower than recommended tire pressures, and we've got the information here. We're the smart people, too. This is why the tire blew.
Yeah.
It's not your driving style. It's not the extra speed. It's because you were running too low of tire pressures. And how many cars do you see out there on the interstate that are running that you can look at that tire and go, there's only 10 pounds in that tire, and I'm gonna back off and go about 4 lanes away from them because that tire is gonna pop.
It's funny you say that, Dan, because my wife was just asking me, Bud, the car feels squirrely, so I'm driving it, and I turned the little overhead digital display on.
Yeah.
She's running 15 pounds in her tires, and they're supposed to be 32 pounds. And so it made me think of NASCAR and Goodyear, and I was like, I called her on the way into the show, and I'm like, honey, does the car drive any better? And Rachel was like, well, yeah, what'd you do? Well, I put air in the tire.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back in turn number 3. We're going to talk to champions. It's going to be our turn of champions. Trevor Grossenbacher, who won the Nebraska 360 championship, and Kyle Berck, who won the SLMR Series championship. We'll be back in turn number 2 on the front stretch.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into turn 3 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Heading into turn number 3 here on the front stretch, and we are talking with the 2014 Nebraska 360 Sprint Car Champion, driver of the number 35 Sprint Car, Trevor Grossenbacher. Trevor, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we love having champions on the show, and big congratulations to you. You were able to steal away the 2014 championship, so let's talk a little bit about that, and let's talk about your 2014 season with the Nebraska 360 Sprint Cars. Weren't able to get a win on the season, but a very solid, consistent, I think 7 top 5s, 10 top 10s, a very good season for you.
Yeah, we had a really consistent year. Like you said, we weren't able to get that win. We come close several times, but it wasn't in the cards for this year, I guess. But we did put together a very solid season, and couldn't be happier for our team.
I mean, you're no stranger to victory lane, so did that lead to some frustration as the year went on that you weren't able to find it in the 360 Sprint Car Touring Series?
Yeah, it did. I talked to Dad about it afterwards. I was like, man, the first time in 5 years we haven't got a victory. I said, we only got one more shot at it this year. And it ended up not coming at I-80. It hasn't been the best track for me, but we at least pulled out a decent 8th place finish to wrap the points up. But I wish we could have got it this year. We just had some bad luck when we were running up front. We should have won one at Rising City, and we're in the lead and had a flat tire and had to go to the back and ended up getting 3rd. But that's probably our best shot we had at it this year. Otherwise, we were just consistently top 5, top 10. So it was a good year.
And something that you can't really, well, like you said, you an 8th place finish at the Cornhusker Classic on Saturday night, able to get, I think you needed 114 and you got 116 points to win the championship?
Yeah, I knew going into it I needed to get 8th place or better, and I think it was in my head a little bit too much that night. I drove a lot more cautious than I should have and got passed by I just went in the corner a little too easy, but we were able to pull it off, so I'm happy. It's our first championship we've won. We've been close when we ran Eagle Weekly. We just couldn't put together a full year without having a DNF, and this year we had a really good year, solid year, and luckily our DNFs came on non-points nights, so we lucked out there, had a little luck on our side, and like I say, I'm happy to get one since we moved up from the mini sprint class. We haven't got any championships. We got Rookie of the Year, but we've come close, got some seconds and some thirds. We got third last year and had some bad luck, but finally got one this year, and it feels pretty good.
Did the cooler temperatures at the Cornhusker Classic throw you guys off, or was it just kind of, it was cool for everybody, so it was a level playing field?
It was definitely a level playing field. It was very cool. It was cold, actually. I think the biggest factor was they had 270-some cars there that night, and the track was in actually really good shape, the cars they had, but it took a little bit of rubber during the race, and we missed the setup a little bit, and I was just being way too cautious and a little careful on one of the restarts and got passed by a couple cars, but we had a good heat race. I drew bad. We started 6 out of 7 cars and ended up 3rd in the heat and put us in the redraw, which we needed to start in the top 8, and I think I started 5th and ended up 8th, so it wasn't the best night for us, but we pulled it off in the end, so I couldn't be happier.
You'd mentioned as you walked into Saturday night at the Cornhusker Classic that you knew you needed to finish 8th place or better in order to win the championship, and you did kind of mention that it was in your head, so kind of go into that a little bit more. Was it a lot in your head, or maybe you're just looking back at it saying, I shouldn't have paid attention to the points?
I actually didn't think we were that close. I mean, Jack Dover had a heck of a year with our class and probably should have won the points. He just wasn't there that night. He was in a wedding, and I was told if I got 8th or better, I'd have the championship. So I thought about it way too much and just drove cautious, and it almost ended up biting me in the butt. Actually, I was on one of the restarts. I was in 8th. I was like, man, I can't lose another spot. So I just thought about it way too much, and I wish I wouldn't have known anything. I probably would have drove a little better, but oh well. It worked out in the end.
Lesson learned, and you'll move on for next year when you win the championship for a second time, right?
That'd be great. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen next year, how many races we're going to have, and how everything's going to work out. We should be hearing the next month on the schedule, I imagine, and how it's all going to happen for next year.
It sounds pretty promising. I saw a post from, I believe it was Randy Palmer about the Nebraska 360. Said that everybody you guys went to, very happy with the show, so they expect a lot of the tracks to sign back on, plus they're working with a couple new ones. I know when you guys came down to Crawford County, you guys put on one heck of a show.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I like to travel to different places. It helps you as a driver from the new tracks you go to. So it's fun, to see new faces and new cars. So we usually get some other out-of-town cars when we travel a little bit that we don't normally race with, and it's fun that way.
Trevor, earlier, or actually last Sunday on the show, Stan Caesar talked about the 410 Touring Series that was announced, and then this week it was officially named the National Sprint Series that's going to be going throughout. It's going to be kicking off at Eagle Raceway and then moving over to Knoxville. It's going to be kind of a 410 Touring Series. Is there any interest in you moving up and running in that series, or are you going to stick with the 360 Series for a while?
That'd be something I would love to do, but with our team and my work and family, I think it's best to race around home, close to home. It's hard for me to race during the week on Fridays to go travel, take off work, and I got a little 17-month-old boy, so it's hard to leave him for the whole weekend and go race. So I'll probably stick to what I'm doing, racing on the weekends with 360, so that way I can see the family a little more and they can come watch.
Yeah, I'm looking at your Facebook page, and I'm seeing a picture of him. I think he's spraying WD-40 on your rims. It'd be hard if I had to look that little boy in the eyes and go away for a couple of days.
Yeah, he likes to help in the garage, that's for sure. I think he's got a little gearhead in him. So whatever he wants to do, race, play basketball, whatever, we'll be behind him. So he's got a basketball family on one side and a racing on the other. So he's definitely interested.
I was wondering if he says, Dad, I want to race some karts someday, if you're going to let him do that.
I think so. I'm sure Grandpa would be fine with that, too. I don't know if Mom would be, but Grandpa would be.
So talk about your plans for the rest of this year. Racing's kind of winding down. The temperatures are cooling off. Things are kind of starting to slow down a little bit. What are your plans for the rest of the year as far as touring racing?
We're actually, that's our last race of the season. We're going to kind of wrap things up. I'm actually getting ready to work on the car a little bit, pull the motor out, and get ready for next year. We'd like to go to the Short Track Nationals one of these years. It's in Arkansas, but it just didn't really work out in our budget for us this year. So maybe next year we can do that, but as of right now, we're done for the year.
Trevor Grossenbacher, driver of the number 35 Sprint car and the 2014 ASCS Midwest Championship, the champion of the Nebraska 360 Sprint cars. I got a little confused there. Sorry, Trevor. Appreciate you joining us on short notice and appreciate you joining the show. Best of luck to you next year, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Moving from one champion to another, now joining us on the phone, the champion of the SLMR Series, driver of the number 14 late model for Aurora Agronomy and Strobel Manufacturing. On the phone now, Kyle Berck. Kyle, we do appreciate you joining us tonight. Know you got to get the crops out of the field, so we'll try to make this as quick as possible.
Well, yes. We're about halfway through our beans, and things are going well. We got a beautiful harvest week here, so I guess, like I say, you got to reap what you sow, and it's time to reap. So
and you got
to
get it in while you can, because this weather will change in no time.
Yes, it will. It's beautiful harvest weather right now, so we're taking advantage of it.
You know, Kyle, a lot of us racers have always been kind of been joking about this for years. When Kyle Berck is in the tractor and he's out in the field either planting or harvesting, how many notebooks have you filled up with the latest designs and setups for late models and modifieds?
More, it's amazing how accurate you can be. Now, I probably haven't filled up a lot of notebooks, but a lot of scratch papers. Because most time I forget to bring my notebook in here with me, but I got little notepads and the backside of papers, and I really have truly worked on suspension designs and frame designs and make notes and price quoted stuff for customers. And yesterday I was on the phone in my spare time working on engine projects for next year, potentially if we're going to sell an engine, rebuild an engine. So just coordinate a lot of stuff in between my little 5-10 minute cracks of time here and there.
You do take time to breathe, right?
Oh, eventually.
That or his sister will just shoot
somewhere or another.
Yeah,
he's got to breathe, or his sister will shoot him with a BB gun.
She'll pay me back.
Well,
probably.
We wanted to talk to you tonight because you were able to claim the SLMR Championship for 2014. Once again, claim that championship. Wasn't an easy one for you to claim. You had a little bit of a heartache and a little bit of stress throughout the middle of the year, but able to lock it down and claim the championship after the Cornhusker Classic.
Well, it certainly was a roller coaster points battle for us. It's never over till it's done. And especially there right at the end of Lakeside, we had a lower pulley break on the engine, and we only had like 3 races, and we were right back up, and I didn't have the part with me. It was a unique special pulley, and we didn't have the part to fix it, and we ended up borrowing one of my customer cars, Ben Schaller, and ran his car and got out on the track a lap down, so we were a lap behind, and thought, man, we're not even going to get in the top 20, and if Tad ended up winning that night, we would have been about tied in points coming into the last night at the Cornhusker Classic. Well, he had his misfortune, which was not what we wished, and we ended up finishing 12th by just finishing. So, that kind of secured for the final night, then we didn't have much pressure. But, it was a roller coaster every year, no doubt about it. We had our share of wins. It was a good year, but it wasn't all smooth and easy, no doubt.
What's your end plan for your career? You kind of hinted on it that maybe you'll start slowing down your operation. Have you began to talk about we're going to reduce our races by 20 next year and then 20 the following year and then kind of begin a slow retirement?
I'm probably at that point in my career, not that there's a magic line, but, there's been several guys retiring this year and quitting and slowing down. And so it makes the guy, I've raced since I was 10 years old. So it makes you think about, well, what about me? Where am I at with all this? And actually, my family, the kids are getting old enough. They like going to the races, and we still enjoy it. My sister thoroughly enjoys it. My dad's still very actively involved. I don't feel like we're going to purposely slow down next year. When you look at series and schedules, but at this point, I think our near future still holds, 30, 40 races a year is about all we can handle and still play dad and husband and farmer.
It's got to be a little frightening to think about the prospect of not doing something that you've been doing since you're 10.
I know we're not going to be able to do it at this level, race, forever. I get that, and so yeah, when I have quiet times, I sit there and think, what's going to be like when I'm not actually, when we as a team aren't racing, and I've decided it's time to quit. It's going to be different. When you've done it 5 or 10 years, that's a long time. When I've done it since I was 10. We're 35 years of this. It's just a way of life, but it does get harder as you get older, no doubt about it. It takes more funding. It takes more, time to compete at the level we do, and now I have more responsibilities and adding on our chassis brand and working with customers, and so pretty soon you can only slice that day up into so many pieces of pie, and so it gets tougher. But right now I think we can still manage maybe for at least another year or two.
At this stage of the game, do you look at your customers and have just as much satisfaction watching your customer base run to the top just as you have over all these years? How do you juggle the competitiveness with being the savvy business owner that you are?
It's tough. Behind the scenes, it really is. We have sponsors. I got a team and family and people that sacrifice to help put me to the track and hopefully in the winner's circle, and then I'm sitting there helping my competitors run at their best. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, no doubt about it. I feel like if a customer learns something from me and it helps his program and it actually outruns me, then I try to be open-minded about that. And more often than not, then that ends up helping my program. If I try something and it works really well, I may hold it for a little while, but that's to make sure it really works. Anything can work for one night, but I get a ton of satisfaction out of watching Tad win. I was down there one night, and Tad won at I-80 on a weekly show, and I was signaling him, and he just drove away from the field. And I don't get to be on that side of the fence. It's usually my sister signaling me, but it was kind of fun, and it was exhilarating, and he really dominated. And then same with Brian Koziski, working with him and seeing him be able to win like he did in the limited late model class, and when an SLMR race, started front row with me, and he drove back by me to win. Behind the scenes, I go home with a smile down deep. It is kind of neat.
We're talking with Kyle Berck, the driver of the number 14 late model for the SLMR Series, won the 2014 championship just a little while ago, wrapping up at the Corner Circuit Classic, and also drives the 33Z Modified, powered by Aurora Agronomy and Strobel Manufacturing. Kyle, we know you got to get back into the field and get those crops out, so we appreciate you joining us, and have a great time, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Call anytime. It's my privilege to be on the show, and you guys have a good time.
You too. Thank you. We love having you on. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you.
We talked a lot about the end of his career, and hopefully, I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind, hopefully he's the next Glenn Roby, racing at 85.
Let's look at that word career that you just mentioned, and look at the true definition of it. If you're in racing, you might have been a driver. You're talking about his driving career. Mm-hmm. As a team owner, race car driver, I don't see the end of a career. I just see a new chapter in his career. Because
he'll transition into being a chassis builder and to being, I don't see Kyle Berck as being one of those guys that the last day he puts the car in the trailer and he never goes back to a dirt track. You're going to be hard pressed to not find him at a dirt track.
But I tell you what, you won't ever meet a nicer, more humble guy. Just salt of the earth, great family, great driver, and man, he really does go out of his way to make sure his customers do good.
The racing community is full of great guys. He's on the top. I think he's on the top of the list for as far as I'm concerned. I was a nobody when you had me join the show. Frankly, I'm still a nobody.
We're both nobodies.
But he took just as much time day one interview as he did tonight. We got to move on to turn number 4. Anything else you need to talk about before we do that?
Oh, I was just going to say, one of my greatest Kyle Berck moments of history is when we did the meet and greet with the Silver Dollar Nationals folks over at Quaker Steak and Lube.
Yep.
And we're actually going to the Quaker Steak and Lube. We're in the limo, and I asked, if you remember, I asked Scott Bloomquist, well, how do you set up a car for a good run at the end of 80 laps versus when you start out? And I remember Kyle Berck starting to laugh, and he goes, yeah, would you please tell me that? So he looked like he looked like that young kid. Well, yeah, why don't you tell me, please?
Despite how many wins he has, he's always listening, and he's always willing to help. All right, we'll be back at turn number 4 to wrap it all up. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for The Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great quick as they can lose.
This week's young gun on the front stretch is third-generation driver Janae, the Little Reaper Gustin, younger sister to Ryan, Richie, and Jimmy Gustin. She's also the niece of Daryl DeFrance. So to say that racing runs in the family, yeah, that's a bit of an understatement. Janae got her start when another family member, cousin Damon Murdy, let her get some seat time in his sport mod. Janae has collected 17 wins this year so far. A few to name: Hamilton County Speedway during Thursday Night Thunder, the USRA race in Marshalltown, and the first night of the World Nationals. By far, her favorite win was at Hamilton County. Since all of her family has now won there, her mom is in the Track's Hall of Fame. Janae is 100% committed to the racing world. When it gets cold in Iowa, she races indoors at the Marshalltown Thunderdome and go-karts, reads articles on the latest racing tech, and watches videos to stay in tune with the racing world. In 2015, Janae will start working with the Emma Strong Foundation at emmastrong.com. The Little Reaper knows she wouldn't get to race without the support of her family and great sponsors like McCartney Welding, Fast Shafts, CPD Shock Service and Tools, plus many more. Make sure to keep your eye out in 2015 for the 19J Sport Mod. It'll be driven by Janae, the Little Reaper Gustin. She's this week's young gun on the front stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low edition engines will still have you white knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shale Blade, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up, heading into turn number 4. Presented by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. Online at thelube.com. You can find them on Facebook. Awesome specials all throughout race day, all throughout game day for the NFL and the NCAA all weekend long. Make sure you get out to Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs for some amazing lube tubes. I have officially downed my first Oktoberfest lube tube of the year, and I am looking to conquer several more.
Did you walk or crawl out of that place?
I was helped.
Yeah. Let me guess, by Big Party and Jeff?
No. It was actually it was Steve King this time.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting quite the reputation for being a little bit of a drunk, aren't I? This is my drunkard time of the year, from August, early September to February when Oktoberfest and Winter Lager come out for Sam Adams, and this is my time of the year when I just say, liver, just hang in there, just hang in there with me a couple more months.
I'll stick to my Bud Light.
Racing with the Stars, just a few weeks away. You've secured a couple of new drivers that are going to be there for celebrity-wise. So who you got for us now?
Well, actually, this year, for some reason, it's just a whole bunch of new people. You asked me.
And you were all, I'm prepared. November 2nd at Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Make sure you make the noon start, right?
Yeah, it's noon to 4.
Okay.
A lot of the drivers, Jamie Songer, he's a hobby stock car driver out of Stewart, Iowa. Todd Cooney, a late model driver. Interesting note, the Jamie Songer, Todd Cooney, the trash talking between these two have already started.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if you've seen it from time to time on Facebook. Yeah, it's.
I've said it before. These guys pull no punches.
And they're best friends.
You think that like a roast on Comedy Central is brutal? Oh, you got nothing on these two.
No. So we got them. We got the what I call the kid, Nick Roberts, A-Mod rookie this year, incredibly talented. Ben Cates, he's coming. John Walsh, KMTV3, he's coming. He's actually been taking some practice laps, and he's been trying to compare his lap times to yours.
He comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, what's your fast time?" I said, "Just a tick over 16." He goes, "Dang it, still not there," and walked off.
Well, he stands there and he studies the track. I tell you what, this year, though, the trophies are incredibly beautiful.
Yeah,
I just
really
got
cool.
second and third place trophy. They're beautiful.
Are you going to get pictures of those up on the website?
I will.
7th annual Racing with the Stars.
$10 a race. $3 goes to the Holiday Horsepower Drive. We will have a feature about 3:30, 3:45. Basically, top 5 fastest lap times from the general public start 1 through 5. Top 4 out of the celebrities start 6th through 9th. Jacob Krug, last year's feature winner. Champions winner, he'll start 10th, and the feature will be 20 to 25 laps.
Looks like you've also got Stu Snyder, Clint Benson, Will Wolf, who is an ARCA Series driver, Shaylee Bade, let's see, Jack Prawl. We're going to be tons of great drivers.
A lot of new drivers this year, though.
Yeah.
I tell you what, with these new crate engines at Joe's, it's anybody's race. It doesn't matter what size you are. I actually had a former number 1 rated SCCA racer on the Joe's Karting Facebook page. He said if you're 250 pounds, you can run with a 110-pound guy. Your lines have just got to be different. And you've seen that yourself.
Oh, yeah. That's what John said to me, too. He goes, I don't get it. I got to get out there and get more laps in because I was racing with one guy, and he blew by me like I was sitting still. And so I started following him, and I just couldn't find where the line was. So, and that's honestly where, you can't figure out where you're going wrong. Talk to Buddy. You're there quite a bit. Just say, hey, can you watch my line for a couple of laps and tell me what I'm doing wrong?
Hey, I'm 200 pounds, and so far my fastest lap time is a 15.315. Wow. I do expect that to be the feature times. I mean, the fastest track record right now in these new crate engines is a 14.898. That was by himself. You put yourself out there with 8 or 9 guys that know what you're doing, you're not running 14.89.
So we've got about 4 minutes left in the show. Make sure you go to 7th Annual Racing with the Stars. It happens November 2nd at Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, noon to 4. 7th Annual Racing with the Stars. To get more information on it and to join it and to be there. It's going to be a great time. All right, I-80 Speedway. Are they done for the year? I don't know.
They are done for the year.
Actually, I shouldn't say I don't know because by the time we recorded, they hadn't made a formal decision as far as I saw whether to make up the 3 races for the Cornhusker Classic.
No, there's been some ideas thrown out there. I'm not going to go into those because I don't want to start their old rumor mill up, but they are done for the year. I tell you what, the Cornhusker Classic and all the years that I've been racing at I-80 Speedway, off and on or weekly or whatever, the best format I've ever seen for the Cornhusker Classic. A lot of guys loved it. Now, what really did help, they had 289, not 200. A lot of reports were 289 cars checked in.
Yeah.
That came straight from Lisa Kaziski herself. But it did help that Hayes rained out. A couple tracks up north rained out. And it was kind of funny because Papa Joe called me 2 weeks prior to the Classic. Well, I don't think we're going to get any cars. And I kept teasing him the entire time. I was like, I don't think we're going to get any cars.
Yeah, as a promoter and the man on the hook for the price check for the checking account, that I bet that was a big worry in his head. And I kept saying it to Stan the next Sunday. It's a pity that more people didn't get to see those races.
I tell you what, the races out there, other than the Silver Dollar Nationals, were probably the best, most competitive, fair races I've ever seen at I-80 Speedway. In the entire history of I-80 Speedway, we're talking clear back to the mid-'90s. I mean, the racing was phenomenal. You had tacky on Friday, dry slick on Saturday, and then we went back to the tacky on Sunday until Mother Nature kind of threw her checkered flag on the whole event. But the scoring, the payout, everything, perfect.
What's the difference this year than last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and so on?
There's 2 differences.
Is it a big progression? Is it a sudden change all of a sudden, or have they been getting there?
It was a sudden change.
What is it?
They've been, number one thing, a lot of guys that I talked to, they were using passing points. Well, the drivers typically tend to understand that, but if you're the Joe Blow, Dan, and I go, well, we're going by passing points, Dan, can you tell me? No,
not at all.
But here's the deal. If Joe goes, well, Dan, in the heat race, we're going to give you 110 points in the heat race for a win. Second place, you're going to get 100 points. Third place, you're going to get 90 points.
Yeah.
Well, you could understand that. So now it really depends, and it's always depended as how well we did in the heat races, but it was easy to follow with all the teams and the wives and the girlfriends and the kids. Everybody understood it.
Yeah.
Also, here's the second thing that they did, and I don't ever remember ID doing this. And they didn't really have a C feature. They called it a dash for a lot of the classes.
Okay.
I struggled. I had some bad luck. I was incredibly fast at the Classic, but I had some bad luck. I had a right rear tire blowout. Well, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
So that ended my B feature run.
Was it Goodyear's fault?
Yeah, it was all Goodyear's fault. I was running 8 pounds under the minimum tire pressure.
But it was Goodyear's fault.
But it was Goodyear's fault. Even though I used Hoosiers, it was Goodyear's fault. So I'll have to call Fantozzi on that one.
Yeah.
But anyways, what was really cool is, so we didn't make the B, or we finished in the back of the B feature. I got to go to this dash.
Yeah.
Well, the dash was for all the people that did not qualify for the A feature.
It's a last chance qualifier kind of thing.
Well, no. It's not a last.
Okay.
So they run all the B features so they can set the field.
Mm-hmm.
So then everybody that did not qualify, those top guys that didn't qualify, get to run the dash. Well, Sunday night, if you make the feature, if just to start, you get $80. But if you win the dash, you get $200. But that was the last race you're going to run.
Yeah.
And so now everybody's like, well, wow, because in the past, if we didn't make the A feature out of the B, or we didn't make the B out of the C,
you're done.
Well, it's one, we're done, but it all paid the same.
Yeah.
Well, now it's like, ooh, okay, hey, we got one race left. We can make $200, and that's what a lot of the drivers like.
Is it just me, or is Steve Kaziski getting absolutely phenomenal with track prep?
Oh, God.
Maybe I'm just finally picking up on this stuff with it being my third full year in racing, but it seemed like every time I went out there, I saw the most beautiful track I could ever expect.
I don't know the other guy's name, but there's Steve Kaziski and another guy. But those guys, and I want to say the guy's name is Mike, but I could be wrong. Mike or Mark.
You're right. I think it's Mike. He used to be a crew member for Steve when Steve raced.
But those two guys put in so much time and energy in the track prep and whatnot. I mean, I call Joe, and honestly, some people, there's always going to be the naysayers and the haters out there, but by far and away, this was the best event that I-80 Speedway had ever ran. I had so much fun. All the teams had so much fun. It sucks. It was, bitterly cold. You found that out Saturday night.
I wimped out.
You wimped out. But, the teams had fun. Nobody left. A lot of people came out. All in all, great event.
Yeah. And a great year for I-80 Speedway. And honestly, the things that Joe has in the works for next year, he's going to top it. It's not going to be hard. He's going to top it.
I-80's got its, to me, and this is my personal opinion as a driver, they've got their quirks, they've got their stuff that they can improve on. But when you talk schedule-wise, with their scheduling and the variety of classes that they run, there's something for everybody. If you're a true dirt track racing aficionado and you can't find something to go watch at I-80, you might as well just stay home.
How great is it that we have I-80 and Eagle Raceway just down the road, that we can go to two totally separate tracks, but they're ran so brilliantly and so perfectly. They counter each other perfectly. All right, we got to move on. Talladega is just a few hours away. Green flag at 1 p.m. Earlier this year, Denny Hamlin got the win. Greg Biffle's second. Clint Boyer, Brian Vickers, and A.J. Allmendinger round out the top 5. Paul Menard, Kevin Harvick, Casey Kane, Kyle Larson, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. round out the top 10. This time last year, it was Jamie McMurray, Dale Jr., Ricky Stenhouse, Paul Menard, and Kyle Busch rounding out the top 5, finishing out David Gilliland, David Reagan, Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Newman, and Clint Boyer for the top 10.
Do me a favor. In the Pick'ems contest, don't ever help me with my picks again.
You know what? Okay, I tell you what, I won't help you, and you'll get 0 points. As far as I was concerned, I got you 25. So you can thank me. Go ahead and thank me, because you wanted.
I was going to take Kyle Busch.
Right, who you took the week before, and you would have got a goose egg.
Kyle Busch got a goose egg.
No, you took Kyle Busch the week before.
Well, I would have. Well, you were selling me on Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Charlotte, and how did Dale Jr. do?
Because that was about the only guy you had left. You had 4 months to get me your Charlotte pick. Don't blame it on me but because I
you didn't give me enough time.
Oh, I didn't give you enough time.
Hey, it's Goodyear's fault.
Can I also bring this up? I went and did some math. Your little statistical website is actually hurting you this year. You have 110 less points this year by Charlotte than you did last year picking on your own. If you would pick on your own and you'd have had the same luck, you'd be in 4th place right now. Just saying. All right. Pick'ems contest rolls on.
Rub it in more.
Get me your picks by 1 p.m. today when the green flag waves at Talladega. Get to Quaker Steak and Lube at Council Bluffs for all the green flag action and NASCAR action. Thanks so much for joining us. This is The Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.